Hey everybody, I'm Invisible Katana, and today I'm doing another video on my celebration, my year-long celebration of Back to the Future, because of course it's 2015. And in this video, I wanted to talk about Back to the Future and its sort of impact on fashion, and some of the things that it did impact. Mostly, it impacted like cosplayers and stuff, but it has some actual, everyday impacts on fashion, as well as some things that would be really interesting if they did exist, like some of the fashion stuff, like the that they had in Back to the Future Part 2, the 2015 stuff. Like, we've had the hats for years, and people have been selling those because the movie is, of course, insanely popular. So we've had the hats for a really long time. We got the shoes, I believe it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they introduced the actual Back to the Future 2 Nikes, and of course they don't auto lace, which kind of sucks. But they are making a second version this year. I don't know when that's supposed to come out. I haven't really looked it up in like a month or two since I heard about it. But we're supposed to actually have another version of those where it's auto lace sneakers. But there's a lot of things from Back to the Future, especially Back to the Future Part 2, that impacts fashion as far as, like I said, cosplayers. Like, you see a ton of people wearing outfits from Marty, and people cosplaying as Doc and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if anyone's gonna run around with like just a yellow jacket that looks like a raincoat but it's a regular coat. I haven't seen anyone running around with one of those on. The ties, I think, are the biggest thing I wanted to mention as far as stuff that hasn't really impacted the real world. Like, of course, people, they wore vests in 1985. That's why Marty had one in the movie. So stuff like that was normal, and it was just like, people probably did buy him a little more because of the films. Like, that happens all the time. If a character is wearing a certain thing and that movie is just huge, that thing will get really popular. So I don't know if specifically like red vests were selling like crazy in '85, but those were popular even back then. I feel like they've kind of gone in and out as far as popularity and stuff. But he had that. He had, like, the denim, just jeans that aren't gonna go anywhere, so it's just jeans. But then we had like Back to the Future Part 2, where he has like the future clothing, which is stuff that didn't exist. They just made it for the film. And so it's like, we have the hats, which were later made because the movie was popular. The jacket and the shoes are the same thing. And then we have, like I said, the ties. Like, Doc has an invisible plastic tie, basically. Like, it's there. He wears it, in the beginning of the film. But it's like a clear tie. And then when Marty's in the future, like when he's talking to the older guy about the Cubs winning the World Series, that guy's wearing one of those double ties, and a lot of different people are. They don't focus on it at all in the movie. It's just one of the things they have. But everyone's wearing like those double ties, which I always thought was really funny, and I don't think those will ever really pick up either. And I'd love to hear an explanation as to like why they thought that would happen in the future. I think that would be really funny to listen to. But like, that's one of those things where it's really funny to watch it, but it's like, it's it was ridiculous in the movies, but we've had ridiculous fashion choices in real life as well. I mean, everything's like, a fad of fashion, so it always comes and goes. It might even come back around and be cool again. But it was just one of those things that I always love seeing in the movies, where in the future they have like double ties, and it's just really funny to me. But we do have like real world impact because of that film as far as fashion goes. Like, obviously, me wearing the hat. You go to conventions, you'll see a ton of people walking around with the hat. Some people dressed as Marty. Some people just wearing the hat because it's an awesome hat and movie. The shoes, which went on sale, like I said, 2-3 years ago, and so like crazy. If you look on eBay now, those things are like $2,000 and stuff. And who knows what these new ones are gonna cost? Like, with being auto lace, they'll probably start off at a normal price or a slightly more expensive price because they actually auto lace. But it's kind of cool that this movie, which is obviously super huge, has this real world impact on fashion, and even created its own fashion. Like, the tie thing didn't really transition into cosplaying or anything like that, but the hat does. I love the jacket. I think the jacket is actually really sweet from the second movie, even without all the cool, awesome technology in it. I actually think that's a cool looking jacket. It's just, I don't know why I like it, because I typically don't like burgundy and stuff like that, or like really deep reds. But it looks really cool to me as far as I'm concerned. I think that's a really sweet jacket. But there are a lot of different things in those films. Probably there's a lot of stuff I haven't even thought about. Like they have obviously the fashion of the '50s and stuff that probably didn't just pick up when people saw the film, but there's a lot of stuff in those movies for fashion. It's like you have all these different eras. You have the future, which is the present now. Nothing super crazy or anything like that. At least not in real life. We don't have anything crazy, but they had the future. They had obviously 1985 hardly counts because that was the actual time period, but we had like 1955, which kind of gave people who may not have known a lot about the 50s, like really young kids and stuff like that. Like this is how people used to dress back then. Not so long ago. This was the style. No sneakers. Like those didn't exist in the 50s. You didn't have gym shoes and stuff like that. You had shoes. So I thought it's kind of interesting. Then they had like in 3 they had like the old west and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different little fashion things that were probably impacted in the real world. And of course the most obvious stuff is things that were created from the film for the cosplay. Doc's glasses, the plastic tie that he has. I'm sure you could easily go online and find like the double tie that the older guy was wearing that Marty was talking to, because for some reason his always stands out. He wore it was like orange and black, which is probably why it stood out so much to me. But like Marty had one on in the future too. His boss had one, and it was like the Land of the Rising Sun like symbol, but it was like double tie stuff. So I'm sure all that stuff is out there for people who want to just have stuff as like this is made because of Back to the Future. But it's kind of funny to see what people really enjoy and what they would actually wear. Like people would wear this hat. I wear my hat every day, which is kind of why I messed it up. Like it's just all messed up at this point on the sides. But yeah, like that side I kind of messed up because after a while you obviously just have to wash the hat, and I didn't know that this could break when I was washing it, and I kind of messed it up. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to get a new hat sooner than I thought. But I wear this hat every day because I think it's a really cool hat. If I had the jacket and it wasn't $1,000 to get that thing from the second movie, I would probably have the jacket too. I don't know if I'd wear that every single day because summer it gets freaking hot. So I'm not sure about that, but there are things that people would wear if they had it. Some people probably wouldn't because they want to protect it. Like if you had the hat, you probably if you're not me, you probably wouldn't wear it every single day. But I just like wearing it because I like the hat. I never really wore hats before this. This is like the only hat I've ever actually worn all year round. Like any other time, it's like in the summer I don't wear a hat. In the winter I just wear like a skull cap to keep my head warm, and that's it. Like it was never like I like this type of hat or that type of hat until I bought this one, and it was just like I love this hat. I just want to wear it all the time. It felt weird to buy the hat and then just let it sit in my room and look at it and like, oh, it's a cool hat. So yeah, I wear it every day. But there are lots of other crazy things in those movies. Of course, if you guys have any ideas and thoughts about fashion from Back to the Future impacting the real world, if maybe you guys are one of you was fortunate enough to actually be able to afford the shoes when they first came out. I think they were probably around the same price as other high-end shoes. They were probably like 150, maybe 200, just because they were specially made. But maybe you guys were able to get that. Maybe some of you guys have the jacket. The hoverboard is something that impacts like skateboarding fashion in a sense. I don't know if I'd call it fashion or anything like that for skateboarding, but people who love to skateboard and love Back to the Future will get a Back to the Future. They will get like the hoverboard print on top of their skateboard or on the bottom of it. So it does impact like even the skater world just from little stuff like that. I haven't seen anyone with the Mad Dog on theirs, so that would be kind of, or the Pit Bull. I always call it the Mad Dog, but the Pit Bull on theirs. But I'm sure there's someone who has that too, who likes it, or just like both, and they're like, well, I want the regular hoverboard that Marty took from the future on this one, and the Pit Bull logo on this skateboard. So it does have impacts in other places, like those simple little logos that they have. Mattel is probably like was so happy when when the movies just went through the roof and got super popular from the second one. So I'm sure they're still getting a bunch of money off of that, because I know I want a hoverboard, like even just a regular replica. I still want one of those, so I'm sure they're still making tons of money because of that. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about Back to the Future and its impact on fashion, whether it was, simple stuff even in the 80s where it's like, vests just blew up. Like maybe you guys know some random facts like these things sold when this movie came out, so that's would probably correlate as to why they sold so much. Or just random stuff like if you bought the hat, like I said, if you were able to get the shoes in time, or if you bought the jacket from the second film, or maybe even bought like some cowboy stuff after you saw the third one, because it was like you never liked cowboys, but then it was like you saw them, the third movie, and it was just like it makes it cool to you. I don't know, but thanks for checking this out. Like I said, if you guys have any thoughts about Back to the Future's impact on fashion in the real world, past, present, or possibly future. I don't know if the double ties are ever really going to take off, but who knows? Maybe we'll start seeing tons of people wearing see-through ties, which is totally pointless, but it's kind of funny. But you never really know. So I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.